minding my own business until I started hearing talk of a white girl who should have never lived up on the block. Grown woman who invested in a few extra locks, didn't want no trouble and in bed by 10 o'clock. Spectated as well off, however misunderstood. Thought of some type of egotistical, you got a place in the hood, an independent savage, but did all that she could to depend on no one and make that look good. She grew up in a neighborhood typical suburban, where half the town was like her and the other half ain't even heard of you. Hung out with the kids who would steal their parents' bourbon, who'd go to school hungover and had a part-time working, smoking joints in the woodwork of the sumps, where construction materials were stolen to make hideouts on tree trunks. Thinking garden snakes would end a life when obliterated drunk. California knockouts causing molestation in a slump. The risk-taking of young teenage minds, causing rebellion from anger and think that it's fine. For the impulsivity of a male to demand that his time is to finish off his homeboys money made from a line. Unaware at the time it was sexually traumatic, she hid herself in thoughts in a bedroom attic. Friends and family might have thought she was dramatic, staring at a TV, no cable, just static. Attention was portrayed as, yo, I really love her, manipulated and pressured into feeding the needs of others. Never got a chance to grow up normal without it being something. Father was always working and never consoled by her mother. Isolation on the agenda, and when introduced to drugs, enemies were best friends, and at the time she lost self-love. Years of abuse, the numbing was never enough. Coming from a young lady formed the mentality of a thug. Experiences took her through many places. When you have to hide in the hut of the dirtiest crawl spaces to get her fixed and not remember any of the faces that did her wrong or led her on to covering up those traces. Holding on to what little she had left. The guilt, the shame, the fear, the neglect, the ridicule, the rejection, the years and no respect. When people are an enemy and the chemical's your best friend. Remembering that it wasn't just her anymore. A single mother who, regretting at times, she'd ignore. Complications of life and difficulties she swore. That fighting a hardest battle for her kid that she adored. A child who grew up in gestation and developed behind bars. Was stuck in a cell measuring only a couple of yards. Her mother who collected felonies couldn't go very far and needed psychiatric approval to get behind the wheel of a car. An example of a martyr who battled harder and got farther. To choose life instead of slowly killing herself with no oxygen to the carotid. When recognizing the flaws of herself, causing changes to get started. Walking testimonies of a choice to end something that she was a part of, dragging her feet through the doors of places that said that they could help. The pain and the suffering became the purgatory of hell. Memories of things she refused as her eyes started to swell, and rather be brain dead by frying every cell. Got these people from my past chasing me on the boulevard. Years later, still playing all the bullies in the yard. Cause keeping all that ammo must be really hard when shots fired to blast you and rip your ass apart. Now just a minute, not sure you should be violating this one. If you recall harder shit and twisted things have been done. But when confronted with a problem, I'll be the last one to run. But still a mentally ill veteran who can shoot with a gun. When living a certain life, but everything happens for a reason. Everyone you trusted with your life only ever trusted you for a season. And stop sleeping, the facts I'm feeding got the most cynical believing. You hiding behind lyrical bars while I'm in the fields measure metal by yards. Respected cause I look down a barrel. And still alive cause I learned to body the root of the issue. It ain't a fact of doing what's in your perspective when you live by a code of an army of one not even connected. Feeling like the failure I thought I could be. A dub with a story going through the inevitably. The docket's like novels, so let's consider a plea when you add in another side to the third degree. Got a booby-trapped life. Dumping guns behind bushes and knives and trash cans. Stashing bags of drugs in the plants and plastic cash with digital rations. Getting sick of the self, so I'm barking at God. From pledges to promises, the missions, the knowledge. How do you lose everything and come back even harder than ever? And an empire of savagery and still trying to keep it together. 1,000,001 people gonna sit there and laugh. But 1,000,002 people gonna stand up and be glad. Some of the hardest times they can spectate and appreciate. Some of the ruthless shit you just can't negotiate. Corpses found in layers of dirt where sewage was meant to drain. And only turn up when storms bring inches of rain. How does committing a murder one not constantly run through the brain of the mind of individuals where they were born and bred to frame? Death at the doorstep has me chasing the basics. There's a war in your head, dodging shots fired daily. Investigating investigators last year already cased it. Professional survivor mode on the daily, I faced it. Therapy sessions on state property where bodies found in walls were shoved into decayed buildings where the ceiling's about to fall. No phone service in a stick-up, no in-or-out calls. When you have a barrel to the face, there's no such thing as a brawl. Crime scene investigations and government officials walking around murders while I'm caught up in the middle of being questioned of why I'm feeling sad and the next one's a widow on the grounds of an asylum with bars on the windows.